Good morning. Good morning. It's Monica, your friend Monica. That's the hot fox with the Las Vegas eat me. Alright, that's the Las Vegas is a rock band. I think it no longer exists, but my husband and I, love that band. We have CDs, so unfortunately, right now we cannot listen to our CDs because we used to play in our old car. We no longer have the old car, and the car makers no longer make cars that have CD players. So my husband and I relegated to listening whatever is being offered on our car, and then at home we don't have CDs, a way to play them either because my computer does not have CD-ROM, and so anyway, those are capitalist issues. They make things obsolete. They're very wasteful, by the way. Anyway, good morning. Happy Wednesday. We have another day. We're gonna have another episode of the family drama, the Augustine family drama. But before we do, I want to do a couple of things. I think. First thing is, I always start off with commenting what is happening in the world. What's happening on planet Earth? And I know I'm not doing any revelation here, but you heard that through the grapevine, aka the mainstream, that the Epstein files were released. And a lot of things on that file that me, a naive person, would rather not know. Moreover, I really don't want to see. But I am, like I said yesterday, actively online, and I'm forced to see things that seem quite repugnant. So I had to contend with that. There's a lot of things online that I don't like to see, and that's one of them. For example, I'm gonna give you an example so you can know. I don't like to see some animals behavior, right? I don't like when the predator go after the prey. I can't do it. I don't like it. But some people take some sort of joy out of it, and they publish that, and sometimes I'm forced to see it, which always torment me. But nevertheless, those type of people, if they on my timeline, and they gotta be blocked, because hey, I don't think that's a thing. For me, I'm human, and we don't do that in a human world. Therefore, I don't expect you to give that to me. Alright? I'm not a marine biologist or some sort of, I am not Dr. Sikorsky, who studied the behavior at the Stanford University of the baboons. I'm not. I'm Monica. I never went to school. That's not a thing for me. So don't force me to see that. Alright, so that's that. Nevertheless, if you remember yesterday, typically up to this point, I've been telling you that I am Monica. These are my roles. Number one role, the most important role that I have, is the wife of David, my husband, the villain supporter. That's my number one, my most important role, right? The second role is the fact that I am the villain in this family. I'm simply the villain. The other role is that I do the narrating because, hey, you said this is a play, but we're not seeing the other characters. We only see what you say about those characters. So I am the narrator of this play. And then the other role is not even a role, it's just the identity that I inhabit. It's called the Brownie. I'm the Brownie of the Augustine family. I'm the Brownie, not because I choose to be the Brownie. I just young. It could be other Brownies, but they're not. But nevertheless, I'm just the Brownie, just by virtue of being alive. So those are my roles. But yesterday, I gave you another stuff that you all had to add to this list. It called being a leftist. Okay, so I explained what that entails, being a leftist. So if you're not sure what that is, you're more than welcome to go watch the episode yesterday. I had a red shirt on, so it's not very hard to find. Now, because I'm a leftist, I things that leftist related catches my eye. And that's when the Epstein file come into being. Okay. Now, there's a lot of people in this file, including the Orange Degenerate, and some of the things he was doing with underage people are repulsive, right? So it's that. That's not just him. That's everybody that amounts to be who is who on planet Earth, right? Including insinuation, which I have now gone and find out that my favorite, all-time favorite, Fidel Castro was somehow involved. I don't think that's true, but I will find out. And then when I find out whatever I find out, I'll come back and report it because that's my idol. So let's just get that out of the way. So since that happened, one of, if you're a leftist, that you would think of, that you know as a leftist, and I'm talking about the correct leftist, not the fake one, but the correct fake leftist. Even the fake ones will know about this person. Even people who are not leftists will know about this person. It's Noam Chomsky. And Noam Chomsky is on this list. These elderly men, a linguist and a renowned intellectual, the poster child of U.S. imperial dissenting voice, right? Mr. Chomsky is on this list. That's really alarming. Now, because I'm a correct leftist, I do appreciate some of the work that Mr. Chomsky have given us over the years. And since if you are following with me on this book, you already know that Dr. Parenti, another 92-year-old white Italian American guy who recently died, that I'm a huge fan of, sort of kind of elicited some of his, let me just say, watered down leftist proclivities. So, needless to say, I love Mr. Chomsky, but I don't love him very much, okay? I just love him some, but not all. But I think that is, let me say, that's how it's supposed to be, okay? It's just really difficult to find a perfect leftist like me. Let me just put it like that. So, Mr. Chomsky is on this thing. Now, Mr. Chomsky does, if you are a leftist and you know somebody else that I also mentioned, if you follow me on Twitter, on Facebook, on Twitter, or even if you know a little bit of me, that's Dr. Vijay Prasad. He is another public intellectual that most leftists like. He's a bit of like, what would I call him? Controversial among leftists. Because he is like, I would call Dr. Prasad as genuinely a nice guy, okay? He just are. He's the kind of guy who would just sit here trying to convince us, the leftists, that, hey, I know y'all don't like the Israeli citizen and y'all think they are terrorists. Nevertheless, I don't think they not terrorists, but Israeli citizen. He would say something like that, okay? I don't agree with that, but I see his point. So Dr. Prasad did a few books, which I have not read, but I know, with Mr. Chomsky, right? So since he did that, he is gonna give us, I'm gonna read a little bit of that, okay, if we have time. Because this is the thing. This whole Chomsky thing is really amounts to abuse of children. All right? Now, that's not unusual in human population. That's pretty common. Unfortunately, that's pretty common. Abuse of children is like something that adults do, right? And that's wrong. That's simply wrong. But it is common, right? It is a concern. Why adults find it necessary to violate children innocent is beyond me. Alright? I just feel like that's not right. Because when you do that to a child, not everybody can overcome something that dramatic, right? So that hurt people and that create bad adults. So a lot of the bad adults we see, like some of my family members, I think, one of them being Henry, the common law husband of Jean, had told me, which I may bring later, brings me to say things that he may not like, right? Like, for example, the statistics in FBI, the FBI statistics, they publish. We are told that the bad people in this country, by and large, is black folks. Nevertheless, that's not what the FBI statistics tell us, right? When it comes to the dominant group, the most powerful group in U.S., they do a lot of bad things to children and to women and to, just to the general white folks. And that's expected because despite what white folks tell us that there's black and black crime, there's also white and white crime. Because just by mere proximity, there's going to be conflict, right? That's just human nature. That is human nature. However, this type of behavior of abuse within the white families, it's not discussed. They don't want to address it, but it's prevalent and it's a concern for the larger society because this is our most important group that's supposed to take care of all of us, supposedly, right? And if they are doing all this thing, it manifests elsewhere. Like, for example, they will wind up on the special forces, go over there in Venezuela, slaughter a bunch of people, kidnap the president, and all of that. So we don't like that. I personally do not like that. But let's go back to this leftist thing. All right, since Mr. Chomsky, now, Mr. Chomsky, they've been telling us he isn't a dissenting, right? Most leftists say he's a dissenting person. He's pro-Palestine. And he is a good person, right? Now, I'm not going to judge his morals. No, but that's that. But for me, as a leftist, I pay attention to stuff. I just do. For example, I would start to have a little bit of suspicious. Why is that Mr. Chomsky, when the PDF, which is boycott, divestment, and sanction, Palestinian thing that he was supposed to be pro-Palestine, but he was against that. So that caught my alarm, right? So he's doing that. That don't sound like pro-Palestine the way I expected. And as we can read on this book with Dr. Michael Parenti on the Black Shirts and Reds, the rationalization of fascism and the overthrow of communism, he's a violently anti-communist. All right? And for me, that's a no-no. I'm black, I'm communist, you should be doing that. You're not leftist. You something, but it can't be leftist the correct way, like I said yesterday. All right? He is leftist to some people, but not to me. Not good enough. He needs to straighten out his shit. He needs to be pro-communist, and that's it. All right? Now, that was the first sign. Okay. This is Mr. Chomsky. So that was just like weird. Now, if you know anything about Mr. Chomsky, he is a charming white man. He's a Jewish white man. He has soft voice and he just talks softly like most white folks. They do not appear to be bothered. And he always on point. He gave us the he gave us a lot of books, which I don't need to recite. You can just put his name and they all shows up. That's how he is. And he also was married for a long time. And unfortunately, this old man lost his wife. And his wife died. Alright? But he found love again with a charming Brazilian wife. And I think that's what he is right now on his deathbed. Because he's almost 100 years old or something. And he's with that wife, the second wife. Now, this charming white man, Mr. Chomsky, I don't think he is the kind of person who just very famous, can just have access to children. I'm not sure if he has grandchildren. He may have. And he's an intellectual. He doesn't seem like a person that would be around many children. Let's say that. But he's famous and he's powerful. Okay, let me put it to you. I think powerful in planet Earth because ruled by white supremacy. Okay, he's just powerful because he just have good ideas. First of all, he's an intellectual, a linguist. Perfect. This white person who gave us an understanding of human language and all that stuff. That's really important for humanity. He has contributed in a scientific way. All right, that's Mr. Chomsky. Now, since I'm saying I don't think he's involved with children, how he get access to it? He's old and shit. I think there's more at play here. Okay. Now, I'm not trying to excuse any of this because he should know I'm a leftist. I have a name. And I should be good person. Just be good person. Not violating children, innocent, is the minimum you can get as a good person. If you can do that, use something, but it may not be good person because that's repugnant. Now, when it comes to United States, the settler colony, all right, this imperial thing we call United States, things like this, people abusing children, there's mechanism to address that, right? They just are. We have institutions, we have courts, we have the police, also known as the pigs, also known as slave catchers. We have laws. So it shouldn't be a problem, dealing with bad behavior if it's gonna hurt the most vulnerable children and also the people, because remember, children are not permanently children. We supposed to not do that so we can get good adults in society. Okay, that's really part of the reason why we should be doing that, because we just want good people, good humans, to grow up and be good to humanity, to be good humans like me. Now, we already know that, but we are dealing here with capitalism. Okay, we are dealing here with an empire. We are dealing here with maintaining hegemonic power. A power so powerful, it controls the whole world, the whole planet Earth. All right? That's what we're dealing with. So when we have a society like this, the decision makers, the real decision makers, not even the people you can read, all right? Not even people you all know name. We may see them, but we don't know who they are, all right? Those people. You want smart people, people capable of things, and all that shit, to behave themselves. Let's put it that way. You want them to behave themselves. In other words, you want them to do things to maintain this what I call shit, but they'll call it state as powerful as hegemonic power. That's what you want. Now you not only wanted this behavior among this population, you want it in multiple other societies that you want to, be part of this whole thing, right? That's white supremacy, imperial power. So, despite being a good person, maybe, despite being super smart and all that stuff, that's not good enough. Because at the end of the day, they want people to do things. Now, if we already mentioned this book, right? This book called Who Pay the Pipers of Western Marxism, right? Dr. Rothwell will more or less elucidate how this may work. I'm not an intellectual, so I don't really know. But I'm just trying to just work with me here. So if that's the case, these people, you are the president of Harvard University, you are the writer of the New York Times, the columns, you are the professor, what have you, you are the prince in UK, you are the president of Russia, I don't know, all this elite class of people, you, the French, whatever this may be, you need to make sure those people behave. So you will do things that you will make sure these people, and you will, I would say, you will try to trap them somehow. Playing in the subjective things that I mentioned yesterday that drive my decision with who I am married to or not. You would do that, all right? You were trying to play with human nature, all right? And you also want to play with things that people just want to do, like friendship, right? Like going to a party and being part of the group, right? You will do that, and you will make sure that's available for those people. Now, because of that, they gotta make sure, okay, the ultimate taboo, right? It should be the ultimate taboo, apart from human sacrifice, like we see in Palestine, is the abuse of children. That's it. Because we all know that is a no-no, because when we do that, we are creating monsters. Or at least we should know that. So, to make sure these people compare with the goal of maintaining this hegemony, you need to make sure these people have something that if the general public knows, there will be uproar, there will be mad, upset, disgusted, enraged, right? So you have to do that with these people. So that's where this Noam Chomsky comes in, all right? Now, I'm not excusing the behavior that he has, but I do notice something, that everybody who is in this list. Now, I know these people are fucking monsters. I do. I really do. But I also know this kind of behavior goes on even in general public. But what's surprising, was a little bit interesting to me, at least, is that this whole thing about these powerful people abusing children, it was not addressed with the mechanism that should stop it. All right, let's put it that way. Suppose you do this, that's it, prison. But that was not done, right? So, if that was not done, we need to know. We need to be like, hold on. We know what's going on here. This is because you were trying to elicit some other goal was at stake. Right? So when we read all of this, we need to know that's what is happening. Or at least that's what I think is happening. Alright? They want these people to stay in line. You anti-Israel, fine. But we do this, and this is the limit of anti-Israel you can get into, right? Therefore, when it's time to BDS that can potentially end the apartheid state, you won't be able to do it because, hey, we have this for you, right? That's what I want you to think about. These other people, now, not everybody in this list that do this shit to children, want to maintain bio whatever, I don't even think they care. They're just repugnant. Because again, to a man to be in this ruling class, you need to be as evil as you can get, right? So it does not matter, right? But for the most part, the people that I will be interested to maintain some sort of human decency, like Noam Chomsky, even him fell in a trap. And that's what I'm trying to elucidate here. Now, going back to Dr. Prasad, if you want to, I actually not going to read it because I just don't care, honestly. Because, again, when it comes to white supremacy, imperial power, I don't care. These are the scum of the earth, and they're not worth my going deep down. Dr. Prasad, because he is co-author with Mr. Chomsky on books, you can go on counterpunch.org and read his piece that he published about this on yesterday, actually, February 3rd, and that the title of that piece is On the Emails Between Jeffrey Epstein and Noam Chomsky by Vijay Prasad. You can go read that if you want to. And he talks about all of this, right? So that's that. So that's what's happening in the world. And speaking of Dr. Prasad, if you remember, I was telling you about Venezuela. I told you, okay, so Venezuela was a revolution. I told you about the communal, and that's it before this family drama. So maybe you have to go back to some of my videos on Facebook, and if you want to see those, I'll put them on my Facebook thing. But nevertheless, I would tell you, I was trying to tell you what kind of state is Venezuela, and why would the white degenerates in the white supremacy house would be interested to overthrow the government. And I told you about the communal, about why that would be, and I went all of that, right? So I told you about Venezuela. I'm a big fan of the Venezuela revolution. I'm a big fan of the Venezuela state. I'm a big fan of Venezuela people. I'm a big fan of Hugo Chavez. I'm a big fan of the Bolivarian revolution, right? So, because, why would I be? Because I'm a leftist, and again, I like to be the correct leftist. Now, when it comes to Venezuela, we know recently that the special forces, also known as the degenerates that these kind of animals were abusing, and they wind up in this thing, they just do thuggery stuff. They go in a country, slaughter a bunch of people, kidnap their president, and take him over the white supremacy state called United States. And that is obviously not a right thing to do, right? Now, white folks in this country may not agree with me, but that's my position. So that's what they did. They did that to that country. And why would that be? Now, if you go back, if you are somebody who follows me on Facebook, I told you why that, because hey, I read what the white degenerates agenda for them is the national security agenda of United States, where they said they're gonna do just that. For them, according to Orange Degenerate, they gotta get rid of all the Marxist states. Who's the Marxist state? You say, Monica, I never heard of that. What's Marxist states? I don't even know what Marxist is. Don't worry about what Marxist is. I'm just gonna tell you what those states are, what the white degenerates call a Marxist state. According to Orange Degenerate, also known as Donald Trump, the Marxist states are Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Iran. Those are Marxist states, right? In other words, the enemies of United States. Now they're not an enemy because they did anything to U.S. They're enemy because they said, hey, no, we don't want to be slave. That's not that we do not want white degenerate controlling our shit, stealing our shit, telling us what to do. Alright? Like a healthy, normal person. You can't come here and tell me what to do in my goddamn house. Right? That's logical. But for white degenerate, that's not how you're supposed to behave. You're supposed to say, yes, please, come here and treat me like a slave. So that was the agenda. And that's the agenda that he started with. Because if you are a true leftist, you know the U.S. is in decline. Not in decline because nothing. It's just in decline in the sense that they can keep up the same production as China, right? And the money capitalism things, U.S. is just not as good as China. That's a fact. Y'all can figure that out. All this. I've never been in China, but I know that's a fact. Because of that, right? U.S. is not good in capitalism shit with China. U.S. don't like that. They don't like that because, again, I think 3/3 of the world population are under U.S. sanction. Because according to U.S., they're the one who get to decide how countries need to behave. But even when they are the slave, they still feel like they need to punish them. Now, you would say, why would U.S. do that? Why would it have to punish white people, making them suffer? Right? And by the way, for doing that, it killed every single year over 500,000 people. All right? Over 500 human beings like me and you, dying, gone forever. Now, because they've been doing that, and they do that through other mechanisms, one of them being the dollar, the money that we, with these white degenerates on it, like Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill. Countries are learning to, trying to work out something to avoid the big fat United States, the mean bully. And because of that, that's what they call a decline, where they can not only exert the monetary power, because for countries, which is the majority of planet Earth countries, are not fully developed, they have alternative in China. Because of that, U.S. and especially the Republican Party, and I'm not talking about average person who go in a poll and vote, I'm talking about the leaders of the Republican Party, they want to do something about that, okay? First thing they want to do is these whole lots like Venezuela with a bunch of oil and minerals and what have you, they got to be back in slavery. That's number one thing. Number two things, other countries like Africa, the whole continent, need to say, hey, remember, I'm your master, and you cannot do shit with anybody other than us, the white folks, right? That's the second thing. The third thing is the Middle East, Iran. That is the ultimately bully, the left out, need to be dealt with. All right? And once they do all of that, then China is left by herself, right? China now can be doing business with their friends in Africa. China cannot do business with anybody in Latin America. China can no longer get oil from Iran. So now China has to listen to what United States had to say, right? And back on the line. And then she is the hegemony. Now, if you hear all of that, you know a whole lot of suffering is going to take place, right? Human beings are going to die. Suffering is going to be unbearable, right? Because of that, I know what is happening in Venezuela, which I've been hinting at, but I haven't really spelled out. Because I'm a big fan of Venezuela, and I know they did what they did, I was still, I wasn't happy, but I knew that the revolution, because when it comes to a state, it's not about individual, it's about the program, right? The structure of that state that I'm interested in. Because for me, I want to bring the people on the margin back in society so we could be normal human beings like my husband's family. Once U.S. did that, right? Because I'm a leftist, and what leftists we do, we read and we think and we follow people who are smart and they're going to be able to tell us what's happening, right? I follow think tankers, right? Let me call them that. Those think tankers. The people, the smart, typically they're white, but some of them are Latinos and black. Okay, so that's that. I kind of knew that, okay, U.S. know that Venezuela, they want that state. They want it to be slave, right? They want it. But the Venezuela people in general, or lots of them, a number that's too big for U.S. to just crush, share more or less a little bit of, like me. They are more or less like me. They share my politics. They're not a big fan of what we call gringos, right? Gringos are white folks, right? They're not a big fan of them because they know they're evil people. They do things like Palestine, genocide, right? So they like me. Now, people like me are hard to deal with because we're stubborn and we're going to be like, hey, no, that's it. They're not having it. If you don't like it, let's have at it. That's how we operate. Now, when you deal with people like that, that would be a huge undertaking, okay? That would be a lot of body bags of the kind of degenerates that I discussed, the special forces and shit, soldiers and shit. And U.S., for once, does not have that many soldiers. And that would be a huge operation that I don't think the people in this country, despite how racist they are, really want to be in, right? So politically, may not be feasible for this thing in occupying Venezuela because they have people like me. Now, so instead of doing it like that, they're gonna do it covertly, right? Now, they have success elsewhere with this mechanism, with even more strong things, like Syria, where they have shitload terrorists, and eventually it worked out after nearly 2 decades, okay? But that's that. So with Venezuela, they have a different way of doing this. For once, something is already worked out on the white supremacist favor. It's called Palestine. they committed the worst genocide imaginable in front of the whole global population. And we are all people with conscience horrified. So that's already work in the thing. Now, if you've been following me, you know, I, as a leftist, I, as a black woman, I already told you something about how that work with people of color, especially if you're outside the white supremacist countries. Because for white supremacists, they already reduce us, the people of color, as something that I forgot how they term it, right? Is a human being that you already relegate to a point that they are alive, but at the same time, they know that you, the white supremacists, the powerful, you can do with them. You can unalive them, like they would say, whenever you're ready, right? So you are devoid of basic human rights, human things that should be respected, right? That's who you are, all right? And if you want, you can go back to one of my episodes. If you really, really want how this work, let me know in the comments, and I'll bring you thinkers, one of them being a black thinker who talks about this. So for the majority of world population at this point, that's who they are, right? Other than if you're powerful like China or Russia. For the most part, majority of world population, we have been reduced to this thing that the white degenerate and the white supremacy house that everybody go vote, that my mother-in-law will vote for, that's what they have reduced to us. We are this thing that is more or less alive, but is in connection with death consistently. Because of that, if you are however revolutionary you are in Venezuela, right, with the party that the kidnapped president Nicolas Maduro came from is still in power. Because what happened is they kidnapped him, and then the vice president basically picked up, right? That's why. So that's, as far as I'm concerned, that should, no problem. That's how it's supposed to be, right? But if you are that person, you, the vice president, this monster, this degenerate, this evil, overwhelmingly existential is on top of you, you cannot, I don't know about you, I don't know if you ever work under that kind of unthinkable power over you. Just think about if you're a working class person like I have been, a broke woman, and you working here at a job, and you know you gotta behave yourself because you are being monitored by everything in the job. You know how you feel, like you know what kind of behavior, you know how to behave yourself at every moment. Multiply that by a billion. That's what we're talking about. Because the people in Venezuela who's still in power know this. They know that, okay, we can really abandon the revolution because we have this mass of people who will be like, I have nothing to lose. Fuck it, let's do it. We can do that, so that will really destroy everything the way U.S. like it, like they have in Libya and Syria and elsewhere. So they're not going to do that. So they're going to try to tamp that down. But at the same time, we cannot really say no to these white degenerates from Washington, D.C. So that's a bind, right? I'll call it a double bind or whatever. And you can use whatever. So because of that, this individual has to sort of kind of work out, right? It's like somebody come to your house with a gun on your head and say, hey, you gotta give it up. What are you gonna do? You're gonna just die? No, you're not gonna die. You're gonna be like, hey, have whatever you want, and please get out and call it a day. So that's what is going on in Venezuela. Now, because I already told you that I am the correct leftist, right? And I was already, based on what I had the reporting from the mainstream press and elsewhere, I was already feeling, let me say, disappointing, let down, because a beautiful revolution in Venezuela looked like it's gone away. I listened to Dr. Vijay Prasad, and he more or less was saying things like this, okay? So that's happened in Venezuela, right? The truth is, in Venezuela, the new baseline of human suffering is Gaza, and a lot of states just can't keep up with the monstrosity that is United States, this evil country. That brings me back to our family drama. Right? That just brings me back to it. When we here in US, we go to the poll, right? We vote. We pick whoever they presented. We vote, right? You pick up one or two. That's what we're supporting, right? When we are go register, where they have our names in some database, for white folks here, sometimes they don't even want black folks, brown folks. And according to one white woman in Wisconsin, and some town in Wisconsin, that I read some of her piece in some local newspaper, she think illegal migrants somehow register here to vote, right? But anyway, illegal or not, that's what we're supporting, right? We literally are supporting an evil entity that has people on it. Okay, let's call them people. I'll call them degenerates, but let's use some people on it that have to abuse children to keep these people in line to support this. All right. So when my mother-in-law take that bag to the hospital, right? You know, if you correct leftists, why that would be a concern for me, right? Because although my mother-in-law feel very free, and I don't disagree with that because I think she is, that's at the cause of all of this. And if you are a good person, a moral person, you know that's not right, right? That's just not right. We should not be free at the expense of worse people suffering, exterminated. What we see in Gaza. We shouldn't be doing that. We should be asking profound questions. We should be saying, okay, David, I know you went to pick up some brownie out there, and she's saying silly things that I never heard before. Fine, but let's give her a hearing and see why. Why is this? Okay? But that's not what happened. What happened is they prefer not to hear. They prefer not to engage with. They prefer to demean. They prefer to try to write you off. They prefer to prevent you in your hospital room. And that's what the problem is. Now, speaking of that, we will say, okay, Monica, you seem like just keep, I don't know, trying to say things about these white folks. They seem like just good white folks, okay? The perfect white folks. Because the perfect white folks in this country supposed to go register to vote and preferably vote in the red, in the Republican Party, because this is America, and America is supposed to be the land of the free, the middle America. And Republicans, that's what they are. They are middle American, okay? So you, Monica, the leftist, you need to start this. That's just not right. That's what you would say. Now, I can say, I just told you why would I be this way, but that's besides the point. So what I'm talking about. So remember, I told you I've been in this relationship for a long time. And I'm in this family. Now, again, I also have insinuated that even though my husband and I, we have a serious relationship, right? We are married or sort. For this family, that's not a thing, right? Well, I don't know. It is a thing, but it really is not. Because, again, we were just simply a girlfriend and boyfriend. And according to this thing, if you're boyfriend and girlfriend, and you don't live in the same house at least, that's really no problem, right? And since as I already speculate, the principal character also known Jean, my mother-in-law, my husband lived here with his two daughters, Emily and Lacey, and the illusion of the shadow, that's complete family as far as she is concerned, right? More or less. Fine, but Monica, the leftist, I'm here, and I'm pretty much here, okay? They may not see me like Ralph Ellison will say, the invisible man. You may not see the invisible man, but honey, invisible man is everywhere. So I just want to bring you to a different setting. Now, years ago, I can't recall what year. Now I can find out, but I'm not going to do that because it's not important. I was invited by my husband to go to a Thanksgiving dinner with his family. This time was in the minor character house in Wisconsin. Right? So that's where we went. So me, my husband, and his two daughters, we went over there. Now I want to tell you something about Thanksgiving. For me, I like Thanksgiving. I just like eating those food they give. I don't think that is the best food in the world, but I just, for the thing about family, I'm all for it. And I'm also a leftist. So I know the story of this Thanksgiving. But I'm like most black folks, okay? Let me tell you how black folks are. The black folks, it's not really because they thank you because we live in the land of the free or the home of the brave. That's not it. It's just like, hey, this is a happy occasion. We're not in a funeral. So therefore, as far as you're concerned, excuse to party, and that's it. So for me, it works. Now, one day in this Thanksgiving dinner, there's other members of this family. These are principal character children. They're there. And his wife, alright, was also there. And his wife, children, was also there. So it was a larger family. And other members of the family were there. Now, in this gathering, I'm always myself, believe it or not. I always talk about things, economic things, social things, stuff like that. That's just me. I just like talking about it. I just think it's interesting and important. So I talk about those things. And when we were there, there's something else that caught my attention by the man of character. When I was complaining, now, first of all, let me give you a good data point, something that makes me happy. When we were in the house, he has books in his house, right? He has books in his house. One of the books he had that caught my attention is a people history of United. What is this? Okay, a people's history of the United States by Howard Zinn. It's right there. If you look at my bookshelf, he had a book. I was taken aback. Oh my God, this is a Republican Party house, but Republican thing. And if you know this Wisconsin area, I don't think there's any black person anywhere close. So I was already feeling at home. Okay, this is perfect. I like it. He reads a people's history of United States. That's like my cup of tea. I was excited about it, and I think my mother-in-law, the principal character, Jean, picked that up or noticed that, and she was laughing with me, and I was really happy. So that was that. Now, that's totally fine. And then I'm just talking. I don't know at the time what was going on in U.S., but something had to happen that just made me feel some kind of way. Because I'm always feeling some kind of way about United States. Because, hey, they don't stop doing regular ass shit. Okay? Like I said. So, I was just like, okay, I'm in a party. Now, by this time, majority of the people were children. Okay? Everybody under 18. But they already know that, hey, the brownie, Uncle David, girlfriend, she just special. Let's put it that way. How do I know that? Because another member of this family called Rocco, right? That's the principal character child, said something to the effect that white supremacy or something like that. And I know where the baby picked that up. He picked that for me because I was smiling with white supremacy, white stuff like that. And I laughed. Now, when a baby says something like that, and I'm around a bunch of white folks, that made me happy. Let me put it that way. It just brightened my spirit. Because again, I want the babies to be good citizens. I want my babies to be socially conscious. I want the babies to be good people who's going to be out here doing things, fixing the world, making the world a better place. That's just me. That's just how I go. Those are my feelings and values. So I was very happy about it. Well, since I'm already setting in to a very good mood and just generally feeling good about everything, I thought that, hey, I'm able to watch some of my leftist stuff on TV. Okay? Because, hey, Howard Zinn book, The People History of United States, hey, the baby comments something about white supremacy or something like that. I think, hey, they make home for me. That's it. I'm here. It's all good. Well, not quite. Why I said that? Because the leftist, I want to watch. I mean, I could watch whatever, but for the most part, I just want to watch leftist stuff. So what do? I do something on TV, and I put some show on YouTube with Ben Norton, right? And I'm watching this thing. Because that's what I'm supposed to do. It's TV. I'm here. Okay, it's a bunch of you. Y'all white folks and I'm a brownie. But nevertheless, I already know. They already made home for me. I can watch this. No problem. Well, it didn't last long, and the minor character wife to come in and change it for me. I didn't make a fuss. I didn't argue, whatever, because it's her house. So, hey, you are the guest here. You should be flipping TV. And I left it at that. But I picked that up. I see how white folks get down. And I didn't say anything. But, being the leftist that I am, I complain about shit. I just do. So I was talking about U.S., how the precarious life is, how difficult it is, how really bad it is, and all that shit, right? And then the minor character say something that I will never forget. He said, hey, you, Monica, you shouldn't be worrying about that, okay? Essentially, don't worry about that, how society is, whatever. You have the freedom to say this thing, as far as I'm concerned. So, that's good in itself that you can say these things. Moreover, you should concentrate in family. That's what he said. When he said that, I don't think I said much after that. Because I was like, oh, I see. That book on the shelf means nothing. Also, I don't know, maybe the babies would develop this ethos somehow. But these babies, they're definitely not being trained to do any of the things I wish they could do. So I cut it off. So more or less I left it go. Now, you will say, well, okay, we got it, Monica. White folks, you already know this. That's not the kind of politics they talk about. They like to talk about the politics, Republican and Democrats, right? That's what you would say. And you should be talking about Republican and Democrats politics as it is. That's true, but the problem with me is whereas they can see the blue, right? There's blue there, the Democrats. I don't see no blue. I only see the state as I already articulated, right? And as far as I'm concerned, the Democrats have immense power. A whole lot than the Republican, to be honest. And if the Democrats wanted any of this to change, they would have done it a million years ago. And the reason it's not changing is because the Democrats want to keep it this way, right? And for Democrats, the point they wanted to get us is what we are today, where fascists, little fascists worse than Hitler, can do shit that I just say. All right? And that brings me back to the family. Now, I want to say this very clearly because this is a family play, a family drama. I want them to get to know me. And specifically, I want them to get to know me in relationship with my husband. Although I think they got it now, but this is the point. Yesterday, if you remember, I gave you a lot of data stuff about defined contribution, defined benefit, shit like that. I did say. If you don't know, go back to my episode yesterday. Now, when it comes to this family, I just want them to be clear. So we're all on the same page. Right? This is how I feel about society. I want a better world. Right? I think that the better world will help me personally. It will help my husband. It will help my husband's children. It will help my own children. It will help everybody. Right? And I want well-being for human. I want human dignity. Now, I don't have power to exert that in the world, right? But I'm a citizen, and I am a citizen of planet Earth. And I'm a citizen of planet Earth. I have a human brain. I should be able to say, at least, hey, I don't have no power, but hey, this is how I would like the world to be, right? And I would expect that other people would be like this. Now, I'll give you another dope. Yesterday, my baby daddy contacted me and said, Monica, Isabella, having problems, all of that, right? That's what my baby daddy said. And my baby daddy, also not very rich man, the baby daddy of my two youngest daughters, Isabella and Layla. And when my baby daddy said that about Isabella struggling or some whatever that is, I thought about this family. I did. I really thought about my family here. And I thought, hey, if we had a better world, right? If my baby Isabella would I have, I don't know, money like my mother-in-law, maybe I could have given her $20,000 to buy a car. But hey, me, I don't have the money. So it can't happen. One thing, for example. But if the society would have common good, my baby Isabella wouldn't have to worry that she don't have money for food and have to call my baby daddy who lives far away in Seattle because she had no money, right? Maybe they would state would have just given here, Isabella, you go ahead and do your thing, right? Or something like that. Well, these people, they don't agree with that, right? They just don't. They say, hey, we will take care of that thing for Lacey and Emily or something like that, right? More or less. Now, that's them. They can do that. But I'm thinking about somebody like Lacey and Emily who do not have a grandmother or a dad or what have you that can do that for them. But for those people, I also want them not to wind up like Monique Cook we discussed the other day, who froze to death outside because there was no place for her to sleep that would not cause her to freeze to death. So that's what I meant with this. Now coming back to this family thing that this man was telling me to concentrate, that's what I'm talking about, right? If you live in a society where you only worry about your family, now, in the society, the reason we call them a society because it's more than one family, all right? It is more than one family. And you, the family, are not just you. You are part of the whole, right? And if the whole is not doing good, that will affect you. So for me, I cannot just worry just for my family. Because if that happening to my children, I'm thinking there may be other children in that situation. And for this family, I want them to understand that, right? Now for them, it may seem alarming, but that's just who I am. This is how I operate. Now, let me bring back to this situation. For me, the things that I told you yesterday, just so I'm very clear with this family. This is how me and my husband work this out. I married my husband because I love him to death. That's the love of my life. And I will be with him for the rest of my life. Whatever my husband has, the guitar, whatever is in a bank account, anything like that, right? Any possession, anything of value, right? Anything, my husband is my shit. As long as I'm alive, right? That's just how it is. It's mine. Nobody else. Monica Agustin with David Agustin. Those are our shit. Period. I just our shit. Alright? Sorry, Augustine family. If you had another ideas, that's just you, not my problem. Now, if something happened to me, my husband would be a widow. And my recommendation, he should find him another wife and call it a day. That's just me. That's just how I think. If he don't want to do that, and he said, hey, the love of my life is gone, I just don't want to go to trouble because this dating thing is usually give me headache or whatever the case may be. I don't know. Then, whatever is left, it'll go to his daughters. That's just how I'm thinking she'll go. But if my husband go before me, right? Then, hello, it's already my stuff. It's just gonna be here, my shit. Alright? That's it. And if I go, now, I don't know if I would get remarried or whatever. I don't know. I'll be old, whatever. I don't know what the situation would be at the time. So I won't get that. If I do have to get remarried, I'll do what I have to do. But that's not important right now. If I do go, right, if I go after my husband, everything's me. And whatever I have, it'll go to my children. No questions asked. Simple as that. Now, if this family don't like that, right? Don't like that. They don't care about my children. That's not their problem. The problem in this case, they're simply too bad. And I just want to bring that up because honestly, I'm not going to play these stupid games. Alright? I want these people to respect my husband, to respect our marriage, to respect our intelligence, to be good people. Okay? More than just trying to be a good grandmother to your children, to your grandchildren. Alright? That's just it. Now, after I say all of that, I had to bring you to one last thing. Remember that day when I told you that we were at the table and my husband and House and Christine, also known as a bound attorney, she made a big fuss about the shadow, and we got into it. There was something else that was communicated that day. Now, my mother-in-law says something about because I'm very attentive. The woman is so charming and cute, just perfect. In fact, she is, I think, exact age as my mom, about the same size. It's unbelievably close. It's crazy. They literally she remind me like my own mother. And I have told you that. But she is charming. She's nothing like me. The ghetto fabulous. She was saying something else that day. She was asserting the, I don't call it demographic or the nationality or the background of these all white folks, right? And I think she said something that his grandkids are related to Italian American or something like that. Now, that's true, at least for these two. These kids are related somehow with the shadow, I think, is related. To me, most Americans, I see them as white folks, but there's differences in this white folk. There's Polish, there's Germans, there's stuff like that, right? No big deal. No problem. I'm Spaniard, even though I am mulatto. She says that about her grandkids. They were related to Italian American. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this or I have any problem with this, right? But it brings me back to how the personal is political, right? Because when we see in the ruling class and who make decision in the ruling class, Italian America are very much there, and they have ideas that I, as a leftist, have a problem with. And one of them, for example, is Mike Pompeo, a degenerate, racist animal, former CIA animal. Okay? Another person who passed away is Anthony Scalia for the Supreme Court and the Nine Freaks. Okay? Now, okay, you said, well, Monica, okay, that's too much. Okay, don't you just be a drama queen like we already suspected. No, because apparently for these white folks, they know who is who and how this works. And for me, I picked that up, right? I picked that up because again, Italian American, not all of them, but a lot of them are fucking racist. Okay, let me just put it that way. Moreover, let me say this. Italian America, every year, we have Columbus Day. That is a so-called holiday that shouldn't even exist. It shouldn't even exist because it's an insult to Native America to say this degenerate, child rapist, animal discover a place that was already here with people. Okay? Now, I don't think she thinks like me and she got involved with this. But for me, being a leftist, I think about these things. I think about, okay, what kind of people, right, we have here. Because, again, this is a family, and I want this family to be a family that make a better world, right? Not just a family that's gonna reproduce the same racist shit I complain about, okay? That's just how I see it. I'm not the kind of black folk who's gonna say, hey, I know white folks are racist, 99% of them are racist, let her have at it, I don't care. Not me. Because I love white folks and I love people. I love all people. And I just demand better from them. Okay? Now, that brings me to the last setting for the day. And I don't know what we're going to talk tomorrow. Since then that happened, another member of this family, is also the minor Gato's son. He was getting married. His name is Aiden. And he married a cute white girl I have so much affection for. Her name is Rose. Now, I don't know everything about Rose, but so far, the way I see the young girl, I love her to death. She's perfect. She reminds me of my mom when she was young. The kind of girl I want in the world, because I know she'll take care of shit. Now, I don't know for a fact yet, but that's my so far the perception. When we went to that wedding, alright, I noticed something about this family. Alright, now, this family here is the minor character ex-wife, the mother of his 3 kids. And I think this woman is also Italian because according to my mother-in-law, all her grandkids are Italian related. So I infer from that this white woman, the mother of these kids, she is a Italian American. Now, when I went to that wedding, I noticed something about this wedding that disturbed me. Because again, you have to keep in mind what I would like this family to be. A good people on planet Earth. Taking care of shit. Alright? First of all, let me tell you something about U.S. In U.S., we have 212 million white folks. people who identify as white. About, I think, 43 million and some change of black folks. About 65% of Latinos. And about 2 million Native Americans. And I forgot what is Asian number. I don't want to give you a wrong number. That's the demographics in U.S. So this is a multiracial, multicultural country. That's it. That's the state for you. The majority are white, but with other people around. Now, no state on planet Earth is 100% anything, because that's just not how it is on Earth. There's variety on human species. When we went to this party, all right, I noticed something that made me completely taken aback, right? Not taken aback, but like concerned for my goal, what I would like in this world, okay? Which is to have a better world, which is to have a compassionate, caring, productive white folk. I look around the whole body, and there was quite a bit of people there. The only person that came close to have something I would call different was me. Me, Monica, the human. Now, in this wedding, okay, I cannot blame that in the Augustine family, because there was Augustine and other last names there. So, I am just putting this in a generality of white ethos, so to speak. When I went to this party, other families were white. Everybody was white. Every single thing was white. So I was dealing, mind you, I'm a woman that was born in Spain, not a very black country. But, hey, this is not Spain. This is United States. What's up with this? This is not what I expect. No problem. And, okay, fine. These are all white families. These are all white ladies. And what disturbed me even more, the groom of this wedding had a band. On that band, it come from the school. Every single one of those people, every single one of the students, every single one of the classmates were white. Right? That's what happened here. Now, I didn't make a fuss about this. I didn't say nothing. I just over there with my husband, the love of my life, enjoying my life, enjoying everybody. No problem. And then that day, the mother of these children, that was her property. She had chickens and something. They have live chicken, right? So I guess when they need chicken, they just take care of business. Like in Africa, I didn't know it was a thing. I thought you just go to grocery store, but I guess white folks have special things that we don't know exist in this country. No problem. I like chicken. I saw that. Big white house. The kind of, when we think about it, the perfect citizen. These are the people, perfect citizen of United States. In Wisconsin, country, pristine, romantic, angelic, type of thing. So, no problem. I'm just part of this whole thing. I took pictures. I make sure Aiden and Rose can pose for me so I can take pictures. I want the baby's picture because I love this couple. This is a beautiful thing. These children are doing adult things. This is perfect. And then I interacted with the mother, okay? This woman, right? Her name is Karen. Now, if you black folks, we already know what the Karen is, right? Typically, it's an obnoxious white woman who question black folks when we in places we shouldn't be. And we don't like it because it's racist. Karen, mind your business, none of your business. I'm black. I know this is white neighborhood, but I'm black. It don't matter. Get the fuck out of my face. That sort of thing. No problem. But that's not just Karen though. She is not like that. She's charming, laughing, smiling, nice, perfect. She's a perfect white woman. Cute as fuck. So I met her. I said, hey, everything, it's nice to see you because I always see your children. I never see you. It's really nice to see you. I'm so happy to see. I saw you, Karen, the mother of the children, and your children are awesome. In fact, I saw one of the outfits you bought your younger son, Max, and I thought that she was related to a black folk because that was the kind of outfit white folks buy their children. So I know you have good taste. You like perfect. You have a taste that doesn't equate with white folks. And I really like that. So I give her a compliment and we had a little chat and that was it. But then I noticed something in Karen's hand. She had a bracelet. And guess what that bracelet did? It was American flag. So if you know something about me, I don't like American flag. But she's an Italian American. So hey, what do you expect, Monica? Okay, no problem. I didn't hold that against her. But in my head, I already know this is what we're working with. So that brings me back to what I'm talking about. If you remember some episode back, I was complaining about the man of character and how he just don't want to was saying something I classify as racist because he now have fears of going to UK because it have migrants and crime went over the roof. And I said, hey, you shouldn't be saying that. Alright? Migrant does not call crime and that's racist. Don't say that again. Or more or less like that. And I had this whole white folks family go against me, so mad at me. Remember when if you don't go back and watch that, it brings me back to that. Because do I really think that these people were born like that, where they see other human beings as that? I don't think so, right? That's not how it works. The way it works is through the socialization. When you deprive children, humans, contact with the reflection of the world, you create another type of sentiment. And those sentiments will lead to the problem we have today, where a monster called US, as I have described it, have relegated to billions of people to the point they have to choose whether they want a dignity or we will be annihilated from Earth. All right? And that's my point. I'm not trying to be enemies with these people. I just want them to hear me out. I don't want them to do silly stuff like ignore my text message that my mother-in-law has not responded to me, acting like a freaking child. I don't want them to disrespect my husband, asking him stupid stuff like, hey, are you afraid to be alone? I don't want any of that. I just want to act them the way they ask us black folks to behave, like an adult, and deal with shit. All right? That's my point. Okay? Now, I'm acting right now like I'm angry, but I'm not. I am angry, but I am not. But to the extent that I'm angry, it's because I care. And I expect better from white folks. All right? Especially this family. Now, they can say, like they usually say in church, that, hey, we preach the Bible every day. They not know Jesus. So if you don't accept Jesus, you won't be going to heaven. It won't be nobody's fault because we told you Jesus is this. Now that they know, right? they should reconsider their thinking. They should be reconsider their thinking. Instead of trying to obsess about what you can leave your grandkids in terms of money, think about what kind of human beings you want your grandkids to be so they can actually know how to do it on their own on this world where you have it, where they inhabit. And that's my point. So for that, we'll leave it here. We'll pick up another one tomorrow. For now, we will go read Dr. Parenti. And please, 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 make sure you like it, subscribe, share, do all this stuff with my video. I want my family to be famous if they have to be. Not me. Make them famous. Make the Augustine family famous because they deserve it. They're good people and I like them. And I really want everybody to know about this family. Okay? Anyway, let's go back to our book. All right, so we read yesterday One Way Democracy, and today we're gonna pick up the subtitle that Dr. Parenti labeled as "Must We Adore Vaclav Havel?" No figure among the capitalist restoration in the East has won more adulation from U.S. officials, media pundits, and academics than Vaclav Havel, a playwright who became the first president of post-communist Czechoslovakia and later president of Czech Republic. The many left-leaning people who also admire Havel seem to have overlooked some things about him. His reactionary religious of obscurantism, his undemocratic suppression of leftist opponents, and his profound dedication to economic inequality and an unrestrained free market capitalism. Raised by governors and chauffeurs in the wealthy and fervently anti-communist family, Havel denounced democracy. Quote, call of objectivity and a statistical average, close quote, and the idea that rational collective social efforts should be applied to solving environment crisis. He called it for a new breed of political leaders who would rely less on, quote, rational cognitive thinking, close quote. Show quote, humility in the face of mysterious order of being, close quote, and quote, trust in his own subjectivity as his principal link with the subjectivity of the world, close quote. Now I want to stop here to say something. Now, if you notice, I say a lot about I am logical. Where did I pick that from? I actually picked that because I'm a Western person. What these people claim to be. They don't always use logic, but I am like that. So in Western society and like European societies, we do based on mechanism of logic, structure, stuff like that, right? We basically we have a system and we know that we know what the outcomes were based on these things. So we think systemic. When it comes to but there's people in Eastern Europe, they're not like that. They are more about some of the things that I also consider like subjectivity, but in a personal sphere, because at the end of the day, I had to make sure, for me, I need to accommodate my my subjective desires and stuff, right? And they are like that even in the political realm. So, but the problem with that, when we have something like that, the subjective thing, is that if you get a good one, things can work out. If you get a good leader with good intuition and stuff like that, and that will be good. But if you get a bad one though, everything would just crumble. Okay, so that's what I wanted to point out with this section. All right, let's keep reading. And whereas systems, you don't have that, right? It cannot run itself. The institution cannot run itself. So the individuals in that institution, they just, they're powerful, they're good, but it's not the whole story. Let's keep going. Okay. Let's keep going. Apparently, this new breed of leaders will be superior elitists, cogitors, not unlike the Plato philosopher king, endowed with a quote sense of transcendent responsibility equals quote and architectural wisdom close quote. Harvard never explained how this transcendent archetype wisdom would translate into actual policy decision and for those of and for whose benefit at whose expense. You hear that? I just said this before I read this part, so hopefully you got that point. This is where you have to pay attention and understand. Let's keep going. Harvard called for efforts to preserve the quote the Christian family and Christian nation, presenting himself as a man of peace and stating that he will never sell arms to oppressive regime. He sold weapons to the Philippines and the fascist regime in Thailand. In June of 1994, General Pinochet, the man who butchered Chilean democracy, was reported to be armed shopping in Czechoslovakia with no audible objection from Havel. Okay. You hear that? Now, if that's one of the complaints I have about Russia. Russia, for example, is in war with Ukraine, which is where Russia and U.S. Have problems, and U.S. Go after Russia because Russia is a big country, it's powerful, and for U.S. as a hegemonic that I already explained on the video, they don't want strong countries. For U.S., the way U.S. vision for the planet Earth is to have every country breaking and so insignificant is in such a tiny, irrelevant so-called country that they're the only the adult in the room, so to speak, right? And Russia is not like that. It's huge. It doesn't have a large population, but in terms of geography, it's huge. Okay? It's also military powerful. Alright? So for Russia, for US, they could never be friends with Russia as it is today. Alright? So that's that. Now, for Russia though, Russia as a state, they're not the kind of people that are gonna go elsewhere and start fights like US does. US is an offensive military. That takes a lot of power, okay, to do that. You get out of your country to go over there and fuck with people. That's not Russia. Russia is not like that. Russia has a border though, that if you go there, they will fight, right? That's what Russia is about. Now, because Russia is that, and U.S. has been misbehaving for a long time, but especially since 2003, Russia really doesn't like that a lot. So all these things about destroying all these countries in West Asia, that's a problem for Russia. And also, U.S. Trying to create, not try. Yeah, it's not try. They actually do it. They create a lot of problems for Russia and Russia borders. All these small countries just fuck with Russia. And Russia doesn't like that either. So Russia is really annoying with US, more or less. Now, even though they are annoyed with US, Russia is a country and a civilization rather. And for Russia, they want to preserve their culture. And according to this thing, they need to preserve Russia as a white Christian state, right? So because they want to do that, they want to preserve Russia as a white Christian state. They're not always doing things that they should do to help world population, right? Sometimes they do, but they do it within limit. For example, in Syria, Russia was trying to help Syria so that US doesn't really turn Syria like Palestine. However, Russia is complicit in this whole thing because, again, like I mentioned some of my episodes, Russia, white Jews wind up in Israel to kill Palestinians to steal their land. So Israel is all over Russia, demanding that Russia not go against them. And for Israel, they don't need any country like Syria that's powerful, right? They want Syria destroyed, and that's exactly what they did. So Russia really did us close to no good. So that's one thing. Another thing is that Russia, while it want to maintain as a Christian white country, right? That's a problem with people like me, the brownies, the brackies, the shit like that. Because that's what the animals in this country that vote in the Republican Party also want. And I don't like that, okay? I do not want in places that these people, because that just called to me, hey, I may be wrong, as genocide, and white folks will just go after us. And I don't like that. I like people of color on planet Earth. And Russia is sending that message out there to white folks. I just don't like it, right? So it's complicated with Russia. Now, Russia as a state have never colonized people of color, okay? That's not what they do. However, they do the things that just give white folks bad ideas, and I don't like that either. So that's really how this works. But let's keep reading. Harvard joined wholeheartedly in George Bush's Gulf War, an enterprise that killed 100,000 Iraqi civilians. In 1991, along the other Eastern European pro-capitalist leader, Harvard voted with the United States to condemn human rights violations in Cuba, but has never uttered a word of condemnation of rights violation in El Salvador, Colombia, Indonesia, or other U.S. client states. You hear that? El Salvador, Colombia, Indonesia, and other U.S. client states. That's what U.S. does. It kill people. It's majority that sometimes does not kill it directly. It just pay other people to do the killing. That's U.S. That's what my mother-in-laws and everybody in this family do. They go to the poor and give them the power to do that. Because according to this country, they're supposed to derive their power from the governed. And the governed is people like that. That's why I have a problem with this. Because it gives them the legitimacy. Now, white folks really, they care and they didn't like these things. They will have to say, nope, not me. I'm not participating. Fuck it. Y'all want to do what you want to do, but it won't be with my support. But that's not what they do. Alright? So as long as that's the case, I'm going to keep bitching about it. No matter who don't like it. Let's keep going. In 1992, while President of Yugoslavia, Havel, the great Democrat, demanded that Parliament be suspended and he be allowed to rule by edict. The battle to ran through free market, quote unquote, reform. That same year, he signed a law that made the advocacy of communism a felony with the penalty of up to either years imprisonment. He claimed the just Constitution required him to sign it. In fact, as he knew, the law violated the Charter of Human Rights, which is incorporated into just Constitution. In any case, it did not require his signature to become law. In 1995, he supported and signed another undemocratic law barring communists and informal communists from employing in public agency. Now, I want to say something here. This is how white folks are, okay? If you ask my uncle, I don't know if you know, but I've been saying I'm a mulatto, so you know I'm related to white folks through my bloodline. When you talk to somebody like my uncle in Spain, he don't like Russia. He don't like Putin. He don't like any of that. And you can't tell him shit. Now, as you can see, I have my complaints with Russia, but I'm not what you call irrational. I have no other words for this. Irrational. That's not how I look at states, right? I don't just, like, for US, I'm not just saying this shit because I want to say it. It's just how it is. And I had to present it as is, okay? That's what US is about. Hey, this is it. You can pretend that's not, but that's what it is. That's me. Now, when it comes to white folks, right, and how they see things and why we have the problem we in, that's not how they work though. They are very much what I call tribal. Now, they accuse people color of being primitive and shit, but I cannot imagine a more primal person than a white folk. I mean, is it, okay? They're extremely primal. They cannot evolve their thinking beyond white supremacy. But when I talked to my uncle, and I told him, listen, I know you hate Russia and you hate all this stuff, right? You hate Russia, you hate Putin. But hey, what about Ukraine? Look at Ukraine. They don't have an election. They're not doing things right. They don't want people in Russia who speak Russia to speak Russia. They don't want them to read Tolstoy. What's up with this hatred? These are the same people. They are white folks. They all look like the same phenotype. I do not understand what's this about. This is not right. Okay? And then he tells me, hey, Russia is a dictatorship, it's a fascist and stuff. And I'm like, hey, what was the last Ukraine had election? I don't think Ukraine is democratic. It has little Nazis, unapologetic Nazi. Why don't you talk about that too, right? That's what I'm talking about. Why? Because Ukraine and Europe are on the same camp, right? And Russia is just saying, hey, no, you can't break our shit. You cannot be our slave. We're not going to be your vassal shit like Ukraine. That's why, okay? That's why. So this is what I'm trying to help white folks here. I want them to evolve as a species. Because, hey, this is not right. You shouldn't be thinking like that. And I'm telling you, if you don't believe me, go to Europe. They more or less all of them like that. This is how they think. And that is a problem for me. Because again, my goal is to have a white population that is good citizens, that will be good to human race in the planet Earth. But let's keep going. To the propagation of anti-communism has remained a top priority for Harvard. He led a, quote, a Frente International campaign, close quote, that was reported in San Francisco Chronicle on February 17, 1995, to make an operation two U.S. financed Cold War radio stations, Radio Free Europe and Radio liberty so they could continue saturating Eastern Europe with their anti-communist propaganda. Under Harvard government, a law has passed making it a crime to propagate international and propagate national, religious, and class hatred. And in fact, criticism or big money interests were now illegal, being unjustifiable lumped with ethnic and religious bigotry. Does it sound familiar? If you pay attention, that's how white degenerate in Washington get down. They want to preserve the extermination of Palestine genocide. And now we are all anti-Semitic because we said, hey, you shouldn't be blowing babies' brains out. Not cool. Right? That's how they get down. It is absolutely absurd. They like to equate things just to get away with this shit. Right? That's why I can't respect none of that. I'm a leftist. Y'all do what y'all do, but I am gonna, if I have to come down breaking laws, which I tend not to do because I don't want to be, my husband said he won't bail me out. I try not to do that. But for the most part, I don't respect laws that are immoral, unethical, illegal. I just don't. I do not respect white supremacy laws. I just don't. Alright, this is a state that was created by extermination of a population, enslaving people who look like me, right, for generations. It can't tell me shit. If they're not improving the rights of humans that breed like me, I have no interest to respect garbage laws that enforce white supremacy. I just do not, okay? I don't care about racist law. For example, in this country, we have death penalty that only apply to people who kill white folks. Not people who kill people, but just white folks only. That's a racist rule. I don't even believe in death penalty. That's that. But let's keep going. And by that, I mean like the majority of people on death row what black people. They're just black people. That's it. That's what it is. And to the extent that some white folks may be on that list, it's the kind of white folk that they don't, but they might as well be black. They call them white garbage, essentially. And not my worst, their worst. And for them, they do not care about these people, which I may have to bring an episode about something like this later, but that is just that. Poor people, right? And if you put in a law that only target poor people, which is every law in this country, you damn right I have no respect for you any sort of way. So when people say, hey, why are you so harsh on US? Not because I want to. They just do things that tells me they are my full-blown enemy. They hate poor people. They hate people of color. They just can't give people food and stuff that I think people need to stay alive. You pretty much, that's it. That's just how I see it. Now, other people may have other ideas, you know. They want their taxes cut, they want whatever. That's fine, but I don't care about that stuff. I care about what I call human dignity. Is a human dignity going on wrong? If we preserving human dignity, right? That's what I want. That's the direction I want to go. And I hope everybody join with me. If a human life is being degraded, I can't like people like that. I can't like people like that. Because, you know, I don't respect lifestyle that Donald Trump where his children live and go toilet. That's not a thing for me. Not interested. Right? I just want regular people have a dignified life. Alright? I want a human being to have rights. I don't want people on earth be reduced to the baseline of suffering being what we see in Palestine. I don't want people to feel that, hey, we got to choose either be a slave or be annihilated. All right? That's not my thing. Okay? So, if I feel that, that means I'm gonna make a commentary about that. Okay, that's it. Let's keep going. Harvard's government warned about unions not to involve themselves in politics. Some militant unions had their property taken from them and handed over to the complaint company unions. In 1995, Harvard announced that the, quote, revolution against communism would not be complete until everything was privatized. Harvard government liquidated the enterprise of socialist unions of youth, which included campsites, recreation halls, and cultural and scientific facilities for children, putting the properties under the management of five joint stock companies at the expense of the youth who were left to roam the street. Under checks, privatization, and quote-unquote restitution programs, factories, shops, estates, homes, and much of the public land was sold at the bargain price to foreign and domestic capitalists. And Czech and Slav republics, former aristocrats or their heirs were being given back all the lands their families had held before 1918 under the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Dispossessed the previous occupant and sending many of them into destitution. Harvard himself took personal ownership of the public properties that had belonged to his family 40 years before. While presenting himself as a man dedicated to doing good for others, he did well for himself. For those reasons, some of us do not have warm, fuzzy feelings towards Václav Havel. You think? And that will be it for today. We'll pick up tomorrow, colonizing the East. And you wonder why those 17 million Eastern Europeans were wiped out from Earth. That's just gonna behavior the capitalists do and the effect that had on people. Now this video is 2 hours long. We'll leave it there for today. And tomorrow, we'll continue with this family drama. Like I say, I don't know what's gonna stop. I told my husband yesterday to contact his mother, and he just thought I think she's fine. She I think he's fine. If something is up, she'll let us know. So, but every 2 days, I'm gonna remind him. It's up to him if he wanna contact her or not. But I just want my husband to make sure they don't say that, hey, because you're brownie, you don't check on your sick mom or something like that. I don't want that on me. I want him to keep checking. I don't know. I don't want my husband to be excommunicated somehow. Now, knowing my husband, he is a good guy. He's just not gonna make no problems. He just feel like this is my wife, this is my life, and you guys just need to be good. And if you're not good, you do what you have to do. I may not like it, but there's nothing I can do. So that's that. Anyway, let's leave with the song Yo no soy de aquí ni soy de allá. And please share make sure you subscribe to my video, please, and watch my videos. Okay, today we're gonna do.
Snap your W-2 and file your taxes 100% free. Líderes latinos en todo Illinois apoyan a Raja para el Senado, entre ellos Luis Gutiérrez. Raja es el único candidato con un plan real para enfrentar a Trump y a ICE y recuperar el sueño americano, porque Raja no se raja.
This season, you've got places to go, people to see, and things to do. You may have already gotten vaccinated for flu.
Yo no canto por cantar, ni por tener buena voz. Canto porque la guitarra tiene sentido y razón. Tiene corazón de tierra y alas de palomita. Es como el agua bendita, santigua glorias y penas. Aquí se encajó mi canto, como dijera Violeta. Guitarra trabajadora, con olor a primavera. Que no es guitarra de rico, ni cosa que se parezca. Mi canto es de los andamios para alcanzar las estrellas. Que el canto tiene sentido cuando palpitan las venas del que morirá cantando las verdades verdaderas, no las lisonjas fugaces ni las famas extranjeras, sino el canto de una lonja hasta el fondo de la tierra. Ahí donde llega todo y donde todo comienza. Canto que ha sido valiente, siempre será canción nueva. Siempre será canción nueva. Siempre será canción nueva.
There we go. Bring it right in. Oh, okay.
Hey, we got this old mattress
Waterbed.
and the receipt.